Hi, everybody. Eric from Hit Subscribe here, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you might take an existing piece of blog content that you've written without search in mind and kind of retrofit a search term onto it, like retroactively optimize a blog post for SEO, meaning retroactively optimize so that people will find it through the search engine. So if you would like to hear more about that, stay tuned. I will offer a caveat and a spoiler, though, before the intro so that I don't get accused of a bait and switch. What I'm actually really going to talk about is how this is super hard to do, and it's probably not going to succeed. So I get why you'd want to try it, and we can look at maybe how that might be successful, but spoiler alert, probably won't be. So stay tuned if you want to understand more about that. All right, so retroactively fitting a piece of content that you've created for SEO. This is an interesting topic, and I want to do a brief mention here. This is a new one, a new series of videos I'm going to be doing for Hit Subscribe. We do content marketing for tech companies, and in this capacity, I answer a lot of questions about content marketing, blogging, SEO, and I'm going to take the kinds of questions that clients and sometimes like people that work for us and whatnot ask, and turn these into a series of shorter YouTube videos that are pretty focused. So let's do that here today. So here's the idea. You've written a blog post and you want to go back. You've got all the content, you dumped your bucket, said your piece, and now you're kind of looking at this and thinking like, all right, how am I going to get eyeballs on this? I can go blast it out on Twitter and, on my social media, but it would be really nice if this ranked for some keywords and people found it via Google. So I've written this. Now I just have to do the search engine magic to make people get to this post. It's a nice concept, and you can thread that needle every now and then and make this work, but I'm going to talk about why that's pretty hard to do. And the long and short of why this is hard to do has to do with something called search intent. So you may or may not realize this, but just about every time somebody types something into a search engine, they're actually asking a question. So let's say that you go to your search engine and you type Chinese food. Most likely the question that you're asking is, what are Chinese food restaurants near me? If you type in something like the Chicago Bears, I'll speak more to that in a second, you might be asking any number of things. It might be like, what is the Chicago Bears schedule? Or what are some news articles about the Chicago Bears lately, etc. So no matter what you type into the search engine, you're asking a question. Sometimes you just do it in shorthand format. Like some people might type in a search query like, what is the name of the Chicago Bears stadium? But other people will just shorthand it and type Chicago Bears stadium. So search intent is this idea of taking the shorthand keyword and matching it with the question that people are actually asking. And in 2019, search engine optimization is really not a game. It's all about figuring out what question people are asking and then just answering that question, like actually being helpful. So to circle back to some blog post that you wrote, the odds that you wrote a blog post with a search intent in mind are pretty low. When you write a blog post, you're typically, if you're kind of coming up with something off the cuff, you're going to be emulating like a columnist or a magazine writer, and you're going to be writing like thought leadership type pieces. You're going to be writing about like why this trend does this or that. In short, you're going to be writing original content, striving for originality. By definition, things that people haven't thought of before. Here's this thing presented in new light, or my hot take on what just happened in the news. That is something that nobody's looking for. Why? Because it's original. So you're going for originality. You're going for things people haven't thought of. How can people possibly be searching Google for things they've never thought of? Therein lies the challenge. So like, let's consider, I'm going to show some footage here of going to my site, Dead Tech, and I'm taking an article up here. I've got it up now. The human cost of tech debt. And this is a blog post that I wrote years ago. It was a wildly popular blog post. It went to the top of Hacker News and Reddit and all these programmer sites. And it got tens and maybe hundreds of thousands of readers. It was one of my most popular all-time posts. But it's not really got like a great organic profile. So technical debt is this idea that you're carrying in a piece of software that it's kind of like poorly put together, for lack of a better term, and it has like hidden costs to it. This is a common term that people will actually search for in the software world. But what people aren't searching for is what is the human cost of tech debt, because nobody's thought of that. That was a concept I came up with that really resonated. I thought like, hey, let's look at, most people think of tech debt in terms of like what it costs the business, but like, let's look at the effect on morale. And people really enjoyed it. Hey, that's an original idea. It made for a good post in social share, but not organic search. If we go and we actually look at, taking this premise, the human cost of tech debt, and trying to figure out something that people might be searching for that would align with this premise, there's nothing really there. So we could like try optimizing for tech debt, but when you go and you look at the search for tech debt, it's what is tech debt? What is tech debt? Those are all the results. That's what Google is saying. If people are searching for tech debt, they want a definition. If we go and take a look for like human cost of tech debt or cost of tech debt, those have zero searches. Like just nobody's searching for that. So we can't really thread the needle on this post. There's just nothing that people are searching for that matches the search intent of this article. Nobody out there is searching for, gosh, this is a thing I wouldn't have thought of, but what morale implications are there for technical debt? So, this is a nice piece of content. It did well, but it's just not really going to drive organic search traffic. Another example, let's talk about the Chicago Bears, and let's say I write a think piece that's like, the Chicago Bears have an underratedly great chance to win a Super Bowl in 2019. I'm a huge Bears fan. I'm a homer. So, yeah, let's go with that. What are we going to search? Chicago Bears? That's a super hard search, and it's mostly like news and people looking for the schedule and like the Bears official site, so forget that. You're never going to rank for it. Maybe if we do like Chicago Bears Super Bowl, but if we take a look at what's going on there, you've got a lot of stuff going on above the fold. The search engine is kind of saying a lot of people searching Chicago Bears Super Bowl want to know when the Bears last won Super Bowl, which was 1986. If you scroll down far enough, you will get to maybe some think pieces. Like you might have a slight chance of ranking for this search, which does decent volume. So in this case, you might be able to thread the needle for Chicago Bears Super Bowl. Pretty unlikely. A lot of the sites on here have higher authority, cater to a different search intent. And even if you do make this particular search, you're going to be at the bottom, which drives very, very little traffic. So this is a hard one. If you start going longer tail, it's just not stuff people search for. Like people aren't searching for, will the Bears win the Super Bowl in 2019? Just not a common thing that people type into Google. So hopefully that kind of provides an example and a framework for understanding why the answer to like, how do I retrofit a blog post for search is in most cases, don't bother. You'd be much better off figuring out what questions people are actually asking the search engine and answering one of those. Every now and then you might write a post that sort of lines up with some keyword and the search intent behind that keyword, and you might kind of luck out. But the odds that again, it's all about what people are searching for, what questions they're asking Google. So when you just sit down and think, all right, I feel like writing some stuff, the odds that you feel like writing the answer to a commonly asked question that will drive some traffic but isn't too competitive, it's just not real high. Like people don't think in SEO optimization terms. You just start writing about whatever's in your mind, and usually you're subconsciously optimizing for originality, and originality is kind of the enemy of doing well in search. So hopefully that answers that particular question. If you were wondering about that and you're not really even in the content marketing space, don't feel bad. I've been asked that by clients. I've been even asked that by people in the marketing profession. So that is something people wonder about. How can we take this old piece of content and kind of rejigger it for the sake of doing well in search? And almost always my answer is don't bother. If you want to do that, let's work together. We'll write you a new post. Use this one in other venues, go syndicate it somewhere, promote it on social media. It might be a great post, but it's just not going to do well in organic. So hopefully you have enjoyed this particular segment. Look for more of these relatively quicker, lighter weight ones. If you want to see more of this, please give us a subscribe. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a like. The channel is kind of nascent. I have another channel, that has more volume, so I've learned a little bit about this, and in the early days of subscribers, those likes are going to be a big help for us. However, if you disliked it, feel free to give it a thumbs down. We want honest feedback, and I'm not trying to game anything here with the analytics. So, as always, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for next time.